couple of years ago, a couple of researchers asked me some questions about my art. So Bill, why are you painting big faces? How did you learn to use complementary color in the eyes? Complementary and equal value color? And why do you use caricature and line like this? And how did you learn to create the illusion of light? Artists experiment, observe, evaluate, and replicate. Sounds like science, doesn't it? And so we need to ask the question, what can we learn from each other? Can we be co-investigators? Can neuroscience enrich our knowledge of art?
We see with our brain. We don't see with our eyes. You know, when cell phones were introduced, people started having accidents. The accident rate's 4 times higher when you have a cell phone. So people said, well, let's get rid of the cell phone, handling the cell phone, and have wireless connections and things in your ear. The accident rate did not go down. We drive with our brain, not with our hands. And so we see with our brain and not with our eyes. That's message number 1. And today we have a lot of really incredible tools that we can use. And people studying how the brain functions and how vision functions try to use as many of these tools as possible. We use psychological experiments, we use brain scanning, and so today I'm just going to keep it pretty simple by asserting that the process by which we experience the world is that our brain constructs our reality for us. And the interesting thing about that is that the first part of the process is an analysis of the information that comes in from the eyeball, breaking down different kinds of information into different, very discrete channels or flows of information. The first stages of this are very counterintuitive. We don't have a picture in the brain. We have multiple streams of information, and 3 that are going to come up in the discussion are the analysis of contour. Contours have edges, and edges of different orientations. We may talk about how color is created, because light has no color. Light has a physical property called wavelength. It's the brain that constructs the color experience for you. And actually we know an awful lot about how that works. And motion is a 3rd aspect of what the brain creates. So when we see something moving, the reason we see it moving is because mechanisms in our brain are active and are signaling that something's moving. These are imaging pictures using this technique of fMRI, functional magnetic resonance imaging. And on the back of the brain here, in the visual areas, the primary visual areas in the back of the head, illustrated in lighting up. Lighting up is a computer technique. The brain doesn't really light up. It's wrong to think of the brain as being like a camera. The brain receives information from the eye and then does all sorts of things with it. And where you shift your attention can affect even the primary visual areas of the brain. So here is a person whose brain is being scanned, and they are fixating this black dot, and they are asked to shift their attention left and right according to how this little white bar is. You'll notice that what happens when they shift their attention, their eyes are not moving, they're just shifting their attention. The visual part of the brain back here turns on and off depending on which side of the stimulus you're attending to. Really remarkable. TV camera doesn't work that way. More than 50% of the cortical area of the brain has some visual responsiveness. More than 50%. We like to call that the tyranny of vision, because it just takes over the brain.
Hi, I'm Bill Stoehr, and I'm the host for Your Brain on Art. And I'm standing here in front of the CU Center for Innovation and Creativity, which houses their functional MRI machine. And we're going to take a look at it and find out a little bit about how it works and how science is using this tool to understand more about art in the brain.
Hi, Bill. Hey.
Hi, Lou. How you doing?
Good. Want to see the scanner?
Oh, boy, I'd love to.
Come. There are many university entities here that use it, architecture and planning, for example, but the biggest users are the Institute of Cognitive Science and the Department of Psychology and Neuroscience. And there's a very strong relationship between these two groups.
My name is Kevin McManus. I'm an MRI technologist. I've been doing MR for over 25 years. Just started getting into research about a year or two ago and came on board here in June when we brought our magnet to the facility and have enjoyed doing functional brain imaging since then.
This consortium is a joint venture between the University of Colorado Boulder and the Mind Research Network of Albuquerque, New Mexico. The goal of our facility here is to understand how thought is linked to the brain and how the brain systems work in normal people and also in people who may be suffering from neurological or psychiatric disorder. What we can do in real time is to watch the function of someone's brain. We use an MRI machine which essentially picks up patterns of magnetization in the brain to see which parts of the brain become active when people are engaged in certain tasks or thinking certain thoughts.
You know, I work in the area of vision and visual perception, and this field, as part of psychology, has always been concerned about the relationship between the physical world on the outside and the mental world on the inside, and how the brain operates to create the experiences and perceptions that we have. In the past, we've had to infer what's going on inside the brain because we had no real easy ways to measure brain activity. But with the new scanning technologies, we have a way of looking actually into the brain while a person is perceiving or doing a variety of tasks and understanding what parts of the brain are activated when they're doing different kinds of perceptual tasks. This is an extraordinarily exciting possibility that we can combine the power of traditional psychology with the modern advances in imaging to understand how the brain actually functions.
All right, how do I look?
Bill, I'm going to put this over your arm. Since you can't feel being in a strong magnetic field, I just want to kind of give you an example of what happens when you are in a strong magnetic field. I'm going to have you hold on to this rope, which has a scissors attached to it. They're mostly aluminum, but there is some ferromagnetic properties inside of the scissors. And I'm going to have you kind of hold your hand up in the air, keep good tight hold on that, and just slowly walk this way for me. Exponentially, as you get closer to the magnet, most magnets are shielded, so it's not going to pull until you start getting close enough, and then you'll feel that pull.
Oh, wow.
Now, if this was a very strong ferrous object, like an oxygen tank or anything, it would pull out of your arm and out of your hand and go into the scanner at about 100 miles an hour. I'm going to give you a little pad underneath your knees to make you comfortable. I'm going to bring the scanner up here. Now, for most people, what I'm going to tell you to do is keep your legs uncrossed. Hands, you can actually rest on your hips if you want. I'm going to bring that top part of the coil over you here. You'll hear a couple clicks. Table's just slowly going to move inward here. We're going to stop for just a moment. If you could, Bill, just close your eyes as I center things up. I'm going to hit a button here and the table's going to advance right to the center of the scanner. This is just a structural image that we take, a sagittal view going from the side of the patient to the midline and then back to the other side of the patient's brain. And we use that for positioning our other images off of that so we know where we're lining up to, what parts of the anatomy of the brain we're going to be imaging. All right, we're all finished, Bill. How you doing?
Great.
Table's going to slide out here. Did a great job holding still for me.
The connection between art and the brain has long been a mystery to scientists and philosophers alike. But it's been artists that have understood what that connection is.